Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Wednesday, July 24th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 161 is Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy is a storied franchise built largely upon, well, stories. In all of the mainline games, there's certainly combat, and much of it can be fairly strategic and interesting, but the strategy of it usually isn't much of a focus. In Final Fantasy Tactics, as the name implies, that focus shifts pretty drastically. Of course, that's not to say that the story takes a back seat in Tactics either. In fact, it has some of the richest world building in the whole franchise. Ivalice is a land of chivalry and honor, but also loads of political intrigue. The game takes place during the Lion War, a struggle to fill a power vacuum at the end of the 50-Year War. Shortly after its conclusion, the ruler of your kingdom died, and now the two viable heirs are at each other's throats over who will ascend the throne. The story actually follows two best friends who, through various unfortunate events, find themselves on more or less opposite sides of the war. I know someone is going to chide me for that not being technically correct, but I'm glossing over a lot of backstory. And did I mention the political intrigue? It's complicated. In the end, some weird cultists are trying to resurrect their evil angel leader person. They succeed. You kill it. Typical hero's journey stuff, and everyone lives happily ever after. Or not. The cultists had grabbed massive political power through the church, and now erased all of the good you did from history. Boo! There's a lot of great game to this game. Tons of meat on the bone and whatnot. You start off with a simple party of squires and chemists, the base classes for melee and spellcasting classes, or since this is a Final Fantasy game, jobs. You move around on an overworld map, sometimes triggering events as you move, from story to city options to combat. While in cities, you can go to various locations, like shops, grab side quests at the bar, or recruit more team members. The role-playing parts of this tactical RPG are nice, but we're mostly here for the tactical parts. At the start of each fight, you can pick your party, including the starting formation, and go off into battle. The combat, while having lots of options, isn't that complicated mechanics-wise. Characters can move and perform an action in either order. Different movement stats for each character allows for strategic setup and may inform your job choices. Make sure to save often, because this game can get pretty challenging, and being a PlayStation 1 game, there's no autosaving. You don't get to view the layout of your battles before picking your party, so you may need to experiment with a couple attempts sometimes. I find the layouts affect what you'll want in your party almost more than what the enemies even do. There's a nuanced system about movement, range, and sight regarding the topography of the map, and makes every encounter feel fairly unique. The actions, of course, are the real draw to the combat though. Everyone can make basic attacks, but the rest of what you can do is determined not only by your current job, but also that character's experience with other jobs. When playing, characters gain experience to gain levels and power up, as is true in basically every RPG. But they also gain job points for their current job and can level that up. The job points can be spent to unlock new abilities and upgrades for that job. However, you don't only get access to things from your current job. You can customize the command card for each character to grab actions, reactions, and more from each job based on what you've unlocked. You're limited on the amount of things you can put on there, so over time, you'll have to carefully craft each character to be totally unique. Unlocking new jobs is extremely simple, as there's a flowchart that I will allow you to go find for yourself of prerequisites, mostly based on attaining specific job levels for other jobs, though there's a few that have some story completion requirements. There are 22 playable jobs in Final Fantasy Tactics, but there are several more that just show up with enemies, expanding the world even further. From the sheer amount of them to the depth and seemingly limitless ways you can customize your characters, the game takes all of the great things I had to say about the job system in Final Fantasy V, which I ranked as my 223rd favorite game, and turns it up to 11. There's a lot that can go into the actual combat, and some of it might not be entirely intuitive. For example, I know I wasn't going to be able to stop my Black Mage opponent here from getting off their base spell in time, so I took the target of the spell and stood them next to other enemies so they'd be in the splash zone to also take damage. This game is filled with little tricks and nuance that can feel oh so rewarding to explore. Should I have probably just been able to get to the mage anyways? Sure, but I set up wrong in this fight and had to roll with the punches, and it's great when you can still salvage that situation. That being said, you can't be too risky with your characters, especially the main character, Ramza. While each character is defeated, they're down for the count. The number over their body is how many full rounds remain before they actually die. If you don't win the encounter or revive them before it finishes the countdown, they're gone and sometimes drop stuff. This could be chests with loot or crystals that heal whoever walks over them first. If Ramza dies, however, be ready to start over. A dead Ramza is an automatic loss for the encounter, so it's critical you protect him. This is one of my biggest criticisms of the game, actually, because it makes me want to take the main character and be extra conservative with them in combat, and I don't think that's very fun. The main character should be up and doing the most stuff. After you win an encounter, you'll gain money and some bonus items. Most of your items come from shops, but it's nice to get little rewards from each fight, and some of them are pretty good. I know I glossed over the story here, but that's not to say it isn't interesting or memorable. It's absolutely worth checking out, but the combat is really the thing that earned this game's ranking, and what I wanted to focus on. Judging purely based on combat mechanics, Final Fantasy Tactics is probably the third, maybe second, best game in this entire storied franchise. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 160th favorite game, where I beat the hell out of your favorite character with a baseball bat.